we're going to solve this inequality for x. So I'm going to move the 6 over. So add 6 to both sides. So that's 2x is greater than, because that goes away, 6 minus 5 is 1. Then I'm going to divide both sides by 2. If I divide by a positive number, I do not change the direction of the symbol. So x is greater than 1/2. So this over here, we are going to choose this one because it's going to be x is greater than. Always solve with your x on the left. You don't have to, but it's good because if you were to have to graph this, it's easy when you solve with your x on the left. You just point your graph, your arrow, at the same direction as your inequality symbol. And then this is where a equals, they just want you to put 1/2 here. Now, normally they'd have you write all of this, but how they're asking the question, this is what they want. Another thing, if it had been, I'm going to go over here. This is another problem. If it had been negative 3x is greater than, say, 12, you would have to divide by a negative number. Whenever you divide by a negative number, you have to change the direction of this symbol. So it would go from greater than to less than. So everything else would be the same, but you would change the direction of the symbol. So whenever your last step, you have to divide or multiply by a negative number on both sides, that's going to give you, change your direction of your symbol. This problem, this has absolute value, inequality with absolute value. So we're going to do this 2 ways, and they want us to write it in interval notation. So let's talk about that first. Here's interval notation. When you have interval notation, you're using brackets, parentheses, and you're writing the smallest number on the left, the largest number on the right, because it's a series of answers when you have an inequality. It's like saying x is all the numbers bigger than 2, x is all the numbers smaller than 2, and so we'll use that. We also have infinity, that means forever in that direction. So let's just go ahead and start. We have the absolute value of 4x minus 8 is less than 2. We're going to have 2 problems here. First, we're going to rewrite it without the absolute values just as it appears. Then we're going to have another problem where we take the 4x minus 8. Instead of having less than 2, we're going to have greater than negative 2. So we're going to change the direction of the symbol, and we're going to change the sign to the opposite. Now we're just going to solve both of these as if they were separate problems. Add 8 to both sides. 8 plus 2 is 10. We're going to divide both sides by 4. It doesn't tell us to round anything, so we're going to leave it as a fraction. But we are going to reduce it. 2 will go into 10 5 times. 2 goes into 4 2 times. Notice we divided by a positive number, so we didn't have to change the direction of our symbol. Now this other side, we're going to add 8 to both sides. So 4x is greater than, notice this is 8 minus 2 now, so that gives us a 6. We're still dividing by a positive number, so that doesn't change, and we will reduce that fraction since 4 will not go into 6, but 2 will go into both of those, so that's 3/2. So x is everything less than 5/2 and greater than 3/2. Now you could go ahead and write your interval notation, but I think sometimes it's helpful if you draw a number line to see where your numbers need to go. Also, to change this to a mixed number so we can graph it, 5/2 would really be 2.5, and 3/2 would be 1.5. So we're going to have 0 here, we're going to have 1, we're going to have 2, we're going to have 3. This is just an is less than. Notice over here on number 2, the is less than is greater than with a line not underneath. We're going to use parentheses. So at 2.5, X is everything less than 2.5. So right here is 2.5. Everything less than goes this way. And we would have an empty circle, or we'd use the parentheses. Then this one is X is everything greater than 3/2. 3/2 is 1.5, so right there. And everything greater would go this way. Notice how my arrows are going the same direction here as the arrows that you kind of can't tell right here are going there. So now this was 1.5. This was 2.5. So the smaller number will go on the left. That was the 1.5, which is the 3/2. Don't write on your answer, put it as improper. Don't put it as a 1.5. They'll probably count it wrong. And notice we have the parenthesis because we're not including that. It was just the greater than, comma, then the larger number, that's the 2.5, which is the 5/2. And again, we're using the parentheses because it's just a less than. So our answer over here will be 3/2, parentheses, 3/2, comma, 5/2. Notice the smaller is on the left, larger is on the right.